very important job in developing these models of how to live sustainably. So we felt that that was an area where we maybe could make a difference.
Many of them had been working like 50 or more years and made a lot of experiences that are really helpful and useful. And together all these experiences from all over the world has proven to be a real good way of expanding our knowledge. And this is a knowledge that is now ready to be presented to people in these educations we are creating, in the Gaia education and the different Gaia education programs. And I think it's an enormous contribution they have made to the world.
Yes, of course, and especially right now, this knowledge and this contribution, as you say, it's super relevant because, I mean, you said that, I mean, like, we live in this concrete jungle and, you know, like, things are just, I mean, we're destroying the nature, we have all these, like, oil spills, and we have all these natural disasters. We are in the middle of all these changes, and I think now in your previous comment with the other lady this morning, you said that the future is now, and then, I mean, there is no future if we don't act now, and that's what, I mean, like, you guys and many other people are doing. I mean, I know that there is another, I mean, similar to the idea of eco-villages, there is my friend Michael Sinclair, he's also working with ideas of radiant zones, and radiant zones, it's just a term though, but it's basically the same idea of having a sustainable living and living in community, but it puts a lot of emphasis on of knowing yourself and that you are the tool of change. I mean, because...
Well, when we started inviting for these projects, we wanted to make sure that the spiritual became an integrated part of it. So we only invited projects who had a solid spiritual practice. So in that way, it's probably not different. But of course, it has been difficult. I really feel it's been my job to constantly hold that focus, because it's much easier to get funding if you don't talk about spirituality. Exactly. So now when we make this education, we call it worldview, and we feel it's a fine concept because it is a different new worldview that we are trying to live, but it's also very much the real scientific worldview. We see those two, spiritual and scientific worldview, as emerging.
Exactly, yes. I mean, that's essential. And then, well, we just see that all these divisions are just an illusion, and then probably just because we don't know everything and we haven't reached that knowledge yet, and our science is just beginning to catch up with all the old masters and all the old sages and all these wise men from the past, including shamans.
And not from the past only, they are living.
Yes, they're living right now, yes.
There are really many living masters that really are fantastic and contributing to try to help.
Yes, I think we, all of us, we are the masters, though, and we are possible of creating changes, and I think that's the beauty of all this work that you're doing, like, you know, the eco-villages, but we, all of us, we are active participants. Absolutely. And we are co-creators of these new societies. Yeah. And but let's go back a little bit into this idea of an eco-village, and from your experience, what's an eco-village, and do you have some characteristics, some prerequisites, or, you know, like, I mean, a lot of people are not aware with the ideas, and I want to go a little bit back, and then I don't know if you could talk a little bit, I mean, about it, how this idea came to be, and then just mention it.
Well, you know, the thing about eco-villages is that they are so diverse that it's very, very difficult to give a very simple answer to your question. But most of the eco-villages that exist today are rural in the first place. Not all. There are some in the cities, but they're much more difficult to establish. And basically, they're all being motivated by three different motives normally. One is the social aspect, one is the ecological, and the spiritual. And you can almost classify them under these categories. And so in that respect, they are diverse. But what we find is that many of these eco-villages are gradually integrating all three aspects, the ones which are most successful. and the ones which are able to survive the longest. But basically what they're doing is they're trying to make a personal commitment to say, look, this way that our political economic system is working is not sustainable. We're heading for disaster, and we have to prepare for what's going to happen after that. And so they're actually developing the kind of models which I think are going to be necessary for everyone to adopt in some form or other when the real crisis hits, and it hasn't come yet. This financial crisis is kind of a warm-up, I think, for the real thing, which is coming in a few years once the oil production starts to decline. And then that's when things are going to get really, really tough. And this is when people are going to have to start growing their own food. They're going to have to think about survival. And there's going to be a very, 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 very tough times coming.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a way, I mean, I think yes, there's going to be difficult because I mean, probably a lot of the mass people they're not ready for the changes that are just about to happen pretty soon. I mean, because yes, we've been trapped, or we are trapped in this system. I mean, it could be on the level of on the economy and also on the mind level. And
it could be natural catastrophes.
Yes, of course. All these things are happening. I mean, they're just happening constantly. I mean, you see that all over the place. You see, like the tsunami. You see all the earthquakes, and I mean, I'm sure that people they're aware of all these things, but sometimes they don't find okay, what can I do? And they feel disempowered. So I cannot do anything. Oh yes, I mean, I have to work. I cannot move into the countryside. But. I would say to the people, like yes, I mean you could do many things. I mean, like this idea, your idea just started with two individuals, and it has just become a global movement in a way. I mean, the connection, coordinating all these like eco villages and at the global level is just amazing. I mean, we've seen this rise on awareness. I mean, in the next few years, and of course, there's going to be changes. But I think these changes, they're good in a way, and these challenges that are presenting, it's good because we've been pampered and we've been in this level of I mean, I will say like childish, not, I respect childhood and I admire like kids.
Childlike and childish, maybe you could use two words for this, because part of being childlike is good, eh?
Yeah, of course, yes, it's great. I mean, it's just amazing. We can learn from kids all over the time. I mean, they're clean, beautiful, pretty.
Unless you become like me,
Of course, I don't mean that level or like that from that point of view. But I mean, we've been like not able to mature and to understand the situation. And I think now it's time to wake up, to grow, and to act because there's some time. I mean, there's no time left.
I think you made an interesting comment just a few minutes ago around the question of separation of man from nature. Mm-hmm. And I think that really is the key to understanding what's happening in this transition is that this philosophy of considering nature as something outside of us, something separate, it's just a dead resource that we can exploit. That is what has been one of the main reasons for this crisis developing, this ecological crisis. And I think what we'll see happening after we go through a very hard period and start to recover again is we'll see a shift in the worldview to a much more holistic worldview where we will recognize that we are part of a living system. This whole planet, this whole universe is a living system, and we are part of it. We can't be separate. And that's going to change everything. It's going to change everything about our economics, about the way we organize ourselves, about global governance, of the way we treat developing countries. Everything is going to shift once we make that mental shift and begin to think of ourselves as one global family.
Exactly.
Thomas Barry, he puts it in a beautiful way. Thomas Barry, this American philosopher and enlightened person, he says we need to reinvent ourselves at the species level.